Welcome, wonderful people, to the first Radiant Health, a 44-minute infusion, immersion into the energy that can create radiant health on every level of our beings. As we know, Baba has said, he wants us to be Baba Centers personified, radiating his eternal message of love divine, living a life of love, sacrifice, honesty, truth. And I usually go through a whole litany of what I know: purity, beauty, cheerfulness, enthusiasm, equipoise, faith, service, servitude, obedience, and the whole litany of divine qualities. And today we're going to be immersing in the divine quality of compassion for our relationship with our human form. So let's just take a moment and take some deep breaths into whatever compassion means for you, especially as it means compassion for your relationship with your precious human form. And take some deep breaths if you're not already doing that. Lower belly breaths as you relax your jaw and your shoulders and your hips. Let your hands be loose if they can. And call on Baba, how you, in your unique relationship with the avatar, call on him and his highest light forces of the heavens and the earth to serve you, us, and all of humanity in freeing up our relationships with our precious body and increasing God's infinite compassion for our relationship with the denser forms here in this earth that we get to experience and play through. There's a song that's just coming to me now. I was at a Northeast gathering years ago. I think it was my first one. And I think the singer's name is Robert Egan. And it's a song that I can turn into a chant. And it goes something like this: the purpose of creation is to remind us to remember God. The purpose of creation is to remind us to remember love. And I think about that right now in relationship with my body and our bodies, that this purpose of creation is to remind us to remember love. And I even like that word remember, like well, we hear the dismembering, but to remember, to bring back these parts of our body into wholeness, into energetic wholeness. Of course, we're not walking around with our limbs falling off, most of us, God bless us. But to remember what that is, to be able to be in this body fully, but to know we're not of it, like the proclamation to be in this world fully, but to know we're not of it, to be in our bodies fully, but to know we're not of it. And so this moment, I invite you to consider answering this question to yourself. And the question is actually a statement. My relationship to my body is, fill that in. My relationship to my body is. And if you feel comfortable, you can share that answer in the chat or unmute and speak. If not, just keep that with yourself. And we're just going to hold the energy of naming in this moment how we feel our relationship to our body is. I like to say sometimes, in this moment, I feel that my relationship to my body, I can feel a little like Sybil. If you remember Sally Field playing the role of Sybil with multiple personalities years ago. There has been a tumult, and in that, a tumultuous relationship that is coming to, it's moving through truce, into peace and harmony. And I'm so grateful for that path to bring me to this point that I can even offer something of my experience with relationship to my body. I just want to share that someone said that their relationship to their body is healing, accepting, loving, and respecting. I love those words: healing, accepting, loving, and respecting. That is so beautiful. With gratitude and awe. I love that. You know, I have 4 children that I have had the privilege to birth through this physical form. And I say that I didn't really believe, I always believed in God and longed for God, but I didn't have the experience of knowing that it was 100% without a doubt a true thing, that there is a greater force that made the heavens and the earth. Because when my daughter was born, my oldest daughter, Michelle McKeever, that precious baby, I just knew that I was not responsible for that. I mean, I literally had sex. I mean, I know this is Avatar Circle of Friends, but everything's under the sun, right? I had sex, unprotected sex, and didn't die for 9 months. That's what I did. I mean, that's not so hard. And then this miraculous life form came, this baby with 10 fingers and 10 toes. And I just in that experience, thinking there must be something greater. And it was that a soul could come into a body. And now what I come to know, I never heard the term dropping the soul, or the soul dropping the body, until Amartithi, the discussions around Amartithi, that Baba dropped his body, that a soul has a body that it drops. And so I think of this body right now as I've been in preparing for this, the Australian RT song, "O Glorious Eternal Ancient One," where it says that, you know, accept this as you would a simple flower, which has no use beyond its shining at this shining hour, or the shining incarnation. I like to think about, as I'm growing in my relationship from tumultuous to truce to peace and harmony and gratitude and awe, that I can accept this gift of my body that has no use beyond the shining incarnation. My soul will go on, but this body is like a flower. This is its shot. These precious cells that I do believe have levels of consciousness, and our body systems have some sort of consciousness, especially what I've learned from Chinese medicine, having dear friends who are in practice Chinese medicine and acupuncture. Then how can I accept this as I would a simple flower that has no use beyond the shining hour? And how can I give that in service to God, to the upliftment of all humanity, to serve the compassionate awakening? And so this 5 series is devoted to that exploration in a very compassionate, simple, Baba divinely inspired moment, as always. I'm going to read something from a book that my daughter gave me. It's a compilation of Baba quotes called "Don't Worry, Be Happy." And I think it's just a genius compilation, divinely inspired genius, as everything is. And it's from page 17. I'll show you the little pictures. I love the graphics. They're so sweet. Look at that angel. And it's called, this is from Life at Its Best, on page 56 of Life at Its Best. And if you want, I invite you to receive this as a meditation, as a continuation of the opening, the awakening of this gift from Baba, this series, this moment. And the title is "Stake Everything on God." Through enslavement to the temporary and the passing, man deprives himself of the eternal and the lasting. Each moment with which man is confronted can either tighten the grip on the false or deliver him to the truth. God is the only reality, and he is the fountainhead of all love, beauty, peace, and happiness. Even in and through the, quote, fleeting now of the false, God is eternally inviting man to himself, affirming himself as the truth of man's being. Those who dare to see and love God in everyone and everything experience him as the everlasting, immediate presence. Only when his mind is utterly detached from the false is it possible for man to disentangle himself from the repetitive clutches of the fleeting moment. Then and only then can he become established in the eternal now, which everlastingly includes the eternal past and the eternal future. The eternal I am is an unfailing assurance of the only reality which ever was, is, and will be. The way to peace and fulfillment in union with God, the divine beloved, is a daring dive into the eternal now. Not by fruitless surveys of the past, nor by elusive longings for the future, nor by enslavement to the fleeting moment, but by staking everything for God. Is it possible for you to experience yourself as the illimitable ocean of love? Here and nowhere else is the final solution of all your problems. Love is born in the truth. Love, born in the truth, liberates without binding and fulfills without overpowering. It is a pure blessing not only for yourself, but for each and all, forever and ever in the eternal now. And so Baba brought that reading to me as the eternal now. And if you'd like to share anything about that, what that means to you or how you're feeling, please feel free to do that.
There. That's just so beautiful. It's everything that Bob has been speaking to me about internally during this quarantine and re-establishing. I love that. The daring, what was it? The daring dive into the now?
Yes, I'll repeat that because that is so great.
Best, yes.
Let's see if I can find it in.
I mean, the whole thing is amazing, but and truth, the truth, that's just what I say.
It's the way to peace and fulfillment in union with God, the divine beloved, is a daring dive into the eternal now.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, and I mean, Baba just, he expresses everything just so succinctly, so beautifully, and so expansively at the same time. It's beautiful. Thank you for bringing that.
Goodness, you are so welcome. Thank you, Baba. And that daring dive into the eternal now, I think it takes daring and bravery to dive into the eternal now of feeling the feelings in our bodies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. We're all about numbing in this culture, numb through TV, numb through devices, numb through everything. Yeah, but we have to awaken, choose to accept it.
Beautiful. And I think that choosing to accept it, I remember reading in another body of wisdom called Pathwork, it's guided wisdom from many years ago, that it talks about the nature of evil. And it said, the quote from it goes something like this: evil is or results from numbing off of our feelings. And then, because I think like what happens then is that we forfeit our incarnation. We forfeit like what we've come here for. We're in a sense saying to God, to Baba, to our higher soul, like, no, I reject what I've chosen to come to. And that kind of, when you numb off to yourself, you can easily then be numb to other people. And since life, we come to experience feelings in the body as well, to be fully in this body, but no, we're not of it. That's where actual violence can come from. In that lineage of wisdom talks about then that the craving for some sort of sensation that can come from the actual acts of violence outwardly or inwardly, like the repeated shame and self-beating that we do with ourselves. So when we can dive into the eternal now, and that daring dive to feel our feelings and stay with ourselves and stay with God during them, which is also a Buddhist concept too, that any feeling that you feel, that you can remember that you're part of the infinite oneness too, and offer it to God through the feeling, like that has a benefit for all that might not have the blessing or the ability in the moment to remember their infinite soul that is having a painful or difficult experience. So I'm going to invite now another question to fill in for yourself. What does radiant health mean to me? What does radiant health mean to me? And I'm just going to give silence for a moment to let that percolate with yourself. Beautiful. I'm going to share something from it, something that someone shared via chat. It's self-forgetfulness and capital self-remembrance. So small self-forgetfulness and capital self-remembrance. I want to take an opportunity to breathe with that too. Like knowing we're in the eternal now, where Baba's presence is with us, where anything is possible. To forget the limitations of the smaller self. And remember, we're infinite. As Baba says, you are infinite. Why do you feel helpless? I want to share what came to me in this moment was when I had in the present moment of this eternal now, what radiant health to me means, I had two things come. First, a vision of myself, and then a vision of one of the recordings of, I believe it was Kitty Davies, Margaret Krask, and I think Delia De Leon in the meeting place in Myrtle Beach. The first that came was of me, that my life, my body is a living ministry. That radiant health doesn't mean a perfection, that there's not a system in my precious human form that might be in a state that is, less than what a doctor would call optimal health. What it means is that radiating the eternal message of love divine through. And then I had the immediate flash of that video. And in that video, what I remember clearly is Margaret Krask looked to my eye to be in a state of very ill physical health. And I remember looking at her and having some a little bit of distressing feelings about her body. And that comes from my own stuff. And wondering how she was. And then when she spoke, spiritual lightning. And I'm sure it was before her even speaking that spiritual lightning was coming, because it was highlighting in me my limited self, my limited judgments about what radiant health means. And that pierced me and opened me up to more truth about what it means to be a Baba Center personified, radiating his eternal message of love divine, living a life of love, sacrifice, honesty. And that word sacrifice, when I've looked up the definition of sacrifice, it comes from, I believe it's Latin words, but to make holy. I think we can have a more traditional, harsh, punishing notion of what sacrifice means, but to make holy everything, to make holy constipation, to make holy a disease process, to make holy even our vibrant health, to make everything holy, make everything in service to the awakening, to the remembrance, to the capital self remembrance. I think that is really powerful. And this might be a little controversial, what I'm just about to say, and certainly you can chat or speak, or if you listen to this recording after the time, contact me at my email, which is cindy@cindyunleashed.com. If I were to call myself religion, which I don't so much anymore, I would say I'm a Catholic Buddhist Baba lover. And I know Baba loving is not a religion, but I grew up Catholic. And I still honor that, how my soul chose to come in. And I think there's beauty in Catholicism. I love that word means universal. Yes, I'm universal. And then I had a falling out with the Catholic Church. God bless me, because I was a lawyer and represented the Catholic Church, and I had difficulty with that. And then I became a Buddhist for a while. Okay, very powerful teachings and beautiful practice. But it wasn't until I found Baba that I found that I was home. And what Baba's teachings have done for me is help me dissolve my attachment to rules. And so I have noticed with myself in reading Baba's words or talking about physical health that there can be an idealization around the state of sickness. Like somehow that is like more holy than wellness, wellness in whatever it is. And the ego, being a many-headed hydra as it is, I think can reform, especially around the sparkling lights that have the grace to be tapped on the shoulder by the avatar and awaken to his advent and his nazar. So for one of the intentions for this series, for myself personally, is to bring light, Baba's light, infinitely compassionate light, to any place that my ego might have tricked me into thinking that extra suffering is somehow what Baba wants. Now, Baba may want that, but I love what Baba says, that 99% of suffering is self-created, 1% is necessary. And if we apply that to our bodies too, just for the sake of devil's advocate or argument or whatever it might be, in this eternal now, if there's any, for you, for me, for anyone on this planet, where the ego has reformed around the notion of suffering as being more beneficial than health, in an unhealthy way, that might be true, but in a way that tricks us, let's ask that to go right now. Let's ask Baba to shine his grace on that, to shine his light on that, so that we can dissolve unnecessary suffering and continue to keep the type that creates great spiritual growth and awakening, and that serves us with our humility. But if there's in any moment, however you know to pray, we're going to take a quiet moment, and in your relationship with God and Baba, just have a conversation for a moment with him, with that greater being, that if there's any part where the ego has trickily gotten its clutches around your relationship with your body and somehow keeps you in a state of unnecessary suffering or unnecessary dis-ease, to allow Baba's grace to dissolve that, or to put us on a path to dissolving it. And in this state of grace, I'm going to offer and invite you to offer, if you haven't already done it, to pray for Baba's grace to come upon the Baba community and for all of humanity and all of existence, to the extent that the ego has reformed around suffering of the body as being something that Baba wants when it's not necessary for our growth, for our awakening, to let Baba's grace descend upon without harm to them or others, like purely accepting everyone's free will. But if it's possible to pray for the beloved Baba community's radiant health, dissolution of any ego attachments to suffering that is unnecessary, that Baba would have us dissolve so that we can radiantly serve his awakening and the golden age that he's bringing in, to let that be now. And we can bring this prayer for ourselves, for the Baba community, and for all to a close, but allow that energy to keep going. Now I'm going to read something from Discourses, from the Discourse Life of the Spirit, before we go into the final guided healing meditation. And it's about the body. It's on page 85 of the big book. Look at this picture of Baba. I mean, isn't that one of the most delightful things about having a body? I mean, even though I was in the body for 3 years when Baba was still in the body, and that makes me very excited, but I know that that my precious cells won't touch his body in that classic way, but I can kiss this, and I have one of the replicas of his hand, and one of my most favorite thing to do is like, if you notice like little children, well, maybe if you don't have long nails, this doesn't happen, but babies love to play with the part of the fingernail that's right underneath here. And they like to play and pull at that. And in Baba's hand, the cast of his hand, there's the part of where his finger bed meets his nail. And I love to touch that part like a little kid, just in wonder and awe. And it connects me to my youth, and it connects me to the love of Baba, and that we can in our body have representations of him. As a young Catholic, I used to always say this: Jesus came once and I missed him. Like, I'll never know what he looked like or sounded like or wrote exactly or said. And so Baba, put that dissatisfaction and agitation in my consciousness as a very young child. The nuns didn't like that very much when I spoke about it, but thank you, Baba. So I'm going to read from Life of the Spirit before we go into the healing meditation to complete. I'm going to read 2 paragraphs. And as Baba says, atom bombs, every bit of it. So let the words come in to serve the highest and healthiest vibrational health. Baba, on the last day that he spoke with his voice, he said to his mandali, take care of your health. Take care of your health. So this today is caring for your health and Baba's service to that. Baba says, the value of material things depends upon the part they play in the life of the spirit. In themselves, they are neither good nor bad. They become good or bad according to whether they help or hinder the manifestation of divinity through them. Take, for example, the place of the physical body in the life of the spirit. It is a mistake to set up an antithesis between flesh and spirit. Such contrast almost inevitably ends in unqualified condemnation of the body. The body obstructs spiritual fulfillment only if it is pampered as having claims in its own right. Its proper function is rightly understood as ancillary to spiritual purposes. The rider needs a horse if he is to fight a battle. I'm going to say that again, feeling the majesty of the horse energy. The rider needs a horse if he is to fight a battle, though the horse becomes an impediment if it refuses to be completely submissive to his will. In the same way, the spirit needs to be clothed in matter if it is to come into full possession of its own possibilities. Although the body can at times become a hindrance if it refuses to be compliant with the requirements of the spirit. If the body yields to the claims of the spirit as it should, it is instrumental in bringing down the kingdom of heaven on earth. It becomes a vehicle for the release of divine life, and when it subserves this purpose, it might aptly be called the temple of God on earth. And with that, if you're not already in a comfortable position, get yourself in a comfortable position. If you want, you can imagine Baba's arms wrapped around you. You can see him radiating through those beautiful dark eyes that he inhabited in this realm and now has in the energetic realm. His 100% unconditional love and caring for you. And that he's holding your precious body And he's encouraging any cells or body systems or anything that's in your energetic structure, thought patterns that have gotten lodged, that aren't in alignment with the truth of the life of your infinite spirit. His embrace, his love is allowing that to yield to the claims of the spirit. Let Baba's energy compassionately, with infinite strength, guide your body, your thought patterns, your energetic structure to yield to the claims of your spirit as it should. Letting your body bring down the kingdom of heaven on earth and become a vehicle for the release of divine life. Let your body, your precious energetic form, be the temple of God on earth, radiating his eternal message of love divine. And now we're going to give time and space as I become quiet for you to revel in this divine healing energy, bringing what might seem like miraculous healing, but it's just the scientific facts of Baba's love guiding us to be his servants, to be his centers personified. And now you can gently start to bring this to completion with your beloved, perhaps allowing him to kiss you on both of your cheeks and your forehead and your precious lips, and holding your face tenderly in his caress. Thanking him, as always, for his radiant presence in your life, in our lives. And imagining now, as this completes, that your body is radiant with colors. Imagine that each energy center of your body, the 7 primary body chakras, the 12 that go up into the connection to God, the many minor chakras and vortexes all over our body, radiating, pulsating, color, light, all of the colors of the rainbow in luminous, coming out of your form, luminous energy. Your body chakras, wheels within wheels, everything being revitalized. The past being washed away, fears of the future gone. And in the eternal now, you are love in motion. You are light. You are refracting out of the precious bones in your body like a beautiful, multifaceted quartz. So many colors of the rainbow. And your cells are dancing. And they now bow in gratitude to you for the attention, the divine support for this precious flower that has no use beyond this shining hour, this incarnation. And then to bring this to completion as we reach 44 minutes, which is just such a wonderful number, 44 years of Baba's silence. 1944, the Baba Center being dedicated. You can, if you want to, unmute yourself or in the chat, know for yourself what you're going to be bringing into your relationship with your body and into the world as a result of the basking in the eternal now. I see in the chat joy. Ooh, joy. And also courage. Courage, like el corazón, le cœur, courage, coming from the depth of the true heart. And capital S, self. The depth of the true heart. Well, I am going to turn off the recording. I'm going to pause the recording, and with a lot of gratitude, and we can stay on for a couple minutes if you want to talk afterwards. I will say that what I am going to be bringing in to my relationship with my body is more softness and faith in Baba's infinite guidance. Jai Baba, everyone.